Oh, hey, Peter, how's it going?
Hi, doing well, thank you.
Nice. Are you ready to answer some questions?
Yes, please.
All right, first of all, who are you?
Yeah, I'm Peter Blair. I'm a professor of biology here at Earlham College. That's one of my roles. In my other role, I direct our Center for Global Health. And in that capacity, we help advise pre-health students to hopefully get wonderful careers and meaningful lives.
Amazing. What do your students call you?
Peter, that's a long tradition of Earlham that I really appreciate. We're all first name here.
Awesome. Where are we on campus right now?
Yeah, we're in one of my favorite places. We're in Stanley Hall, and particularly we're in a laboratory where we teach our microbiology and parasitology classes and sometimes some virology classes. And Stanley Hall is named after one of our Nobel laureates.
Wow. What's one thing your students might be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I think one thing is I do like numbers. I had a math undergraduate degree as well, and so I like fantasy sports. And so I compete in a fantasy sports league that's been going on for 20 years with some old biologist and malaria friends.
What's one thing you've been surprised to learn about a student?
Oh, a variety of things. Earlham students come from a wide array of backgrounds, and one thing I really love about teaching here is how much I learn from them. Their journeys, their stories, their experiences all inform me as a teacher, as an educator.
Yeah, shout out to Earlham students. What's your area of research?
Yeah, as a biologist, I research parasites, and so that's something that's really passionate about. And the one I study the most and for the longest time is malaria, a really incredible human global pathogen and a scourge to human health.
Wow, how did you get into that?
Well, actually, it goes back to my days as an undergraduate where I got exposed to studying a small parasite in a freshwater stream. And then that kind of ignited into wanting me to study something that has a global health burden. And so when I went to graduate school, I said, I'm going to tackle something that's interesting. So malaria is a wonderful organism. I would study it even without the health challenges that it poses. But because it does still kill about 1 million people a year, it seems like the pragmatic side and the reason you study malaria is pretty evident.
Wow, you already touched on this a little bit in that last question, but what was one of your favorite things about your education in this field?
Yeah, I think getting exposed early to an organism that you really appreciate a complex life cycle as a biologist. And so I think humans are kind of, you might say, boring as we grow from a baby and infant to an adult. Some of these parasites have to go to different hosts, have to compete with living inside a mosquito and then a person, and the immune systems that those parasites have to deal with makes them really interesting to study.
If you were an Earlham student, how would you use your EPIC advantage?
Oh, that's a great question. First of all, that's a great opportunity for students to get some kind of career discernment in the area. And in my role as Director of Center for Global Health, we actually provide some EPIC Advantage experiences where students can get kind of wonderful kind of career discernment. For example, this coming summer, we're leading a group of students to Peru, where we do medical campaigns to assist people in need who don't have access to healthcare, and Earlham students get to do hands-on experiences as part of a team, a partnership to help provide care to people who need it.
It's amazing. It sounds like you're really passionate about your work at Earlham. What's one thing that you like to nerd out about unrelated to your work at Earlham or your field?
Yeah, great question. I think as a professor, we all have our side hobbies in courses. So I mentioned the fantasy football, but I think one that not many people know about is my kind of passion in learning about cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology.
Interesting. I don't think I knew that about you, Peter.
That's why I saved it for this.
What's your greatest professional accomplishment?
Oh, wow. I am really, when I look back, I'm proud of what I was able to contribute to the field of genomics and malaria. It was well timed when the sequence of the complete malaria genome came out in 2002. I was doing my postdoc and I was able to get exposed to the first transcriptome study of malaria. And then that led into my research coming to Earlham, and I'm really proud of the NIH grant funded research that I was able to bring to Earlham in the first few years. I think additionally, I should say being able to be part of the development and genesis of our Center for Global Health, which helps students get that experience and immersion and advising in health careers. So I think the CGH, the Center for Global Health, is really something I'm really proud of as a professional here at Earlham.
What about personal accomplishments?
Oh, good. I think how I'm going to answer this one is connected to Earlham as well. My family is important to me, my wife and 2 daughters, and we've been able to lead, my wife and I, a couple of programs, semester-long programs. We led a New Zealand program in environmental studies twice, and we also led a Tibetan studies program as well. And my family's been able to go on these experiences. So sharing that with them, kind of merging the professional and the personal life, and also exposing my daughters to Earlham students has helped shape them and help them as they are now college students. And so I think Earlham has really been profound in helping my family in their development.
Awesome. When did you know you wanted to be a professor?
Also a good question. I come from a family of educators, so education is important to me. My mother was a kindergarten teacher and my father a college professor, who I had for organic chemistry, by the way. And so that never left me. But when I went through my kind of academic journey from undergrad to grad school, then doing a postdoc, one thing I noticed was that with each of those steps, I was slowly getting further away from undergraduates, and I missed that, and it became a gap in my postdoc. So I saw the ad for Earlham a while back and applied, and it worked out. So I'm glad to be part of kind of, again, the educational legacy that my family first started with me.
Awesome. It sounds like you love to teach, but I'm curious what your favorite class to teach is.
Yes. Yeah, this is kind of like the pick your favorite child type question. I am gearing up to teach my parasitology class, and that's why I was excited that Earlham, when I first was hired here over 20 years ago, had the courage to offer such a class. And so in that lab, I'm able to do work on malaria. And so we actually bring human malaria in and we're able to study it, look at it under a microscope, do blood smears. And I think that's a unique opportunity that I haven't been heard of any other undergraduate school that's a liberal arts school do that type of thing. So I've got to say parasitology, but I have to add cells, genes, inheritance. Being able to teach first-year students within their first year at Earlham is something that always has excited me and I will continue to do in the future.
How big are your classes on average?
Yeah, and so that cells, genes, inheritance class, because it shows the popularity of kind of biochemistry, biology, neuroscience, and exercise, sports, and health studies, those majors will all take that class. And so that's one of our largest classes, but large for Earlham is small for other schools, so that may have between 40 and 60 students in it. But we have labs with those that create max at 20 to 24 students. But typically the upper level classes like the parasitology or microbiology class or molecular genetics, probably 8 to 12. So it's a really nice learning environment.
Awesome. Small classes are one way that we can connect with students, but what about your office hours? When can students come see you?
Yeah. Again, one of these traditions at Earlham that I will always abide by is my door will be open. I actually have 2 offices, so you can find me in one of those 2. As long as the door is open, you can come talk with me. I think send me an email if you want to have an official appointment is great, but we are accessible to students, and that's something that I value about the college experience as well.
Are there research opportunities available to students either in the biology department or through the Center for Global Health?
Oh my goodness, yes. We have research in biology as part of the summer collaborative research program where students apply and can often get in research within their first summer at Earlham, which is really unique in higher education. Wide range of topics from ornithology and birds to understanding prairies and restoration to more molecular things, studying viruses or even my malaria work as well. And that's kind of the biology timeframe. So component. But from the Center of Global Health, we have partners regionally that you can apply to, and we have these guaranteed experiences doing biomedical and neuroscience work in Indianapolis, or perhaps ophthalmology research in glaucoma research in Boston, Massachusetts. So a variety of experiences. What I'm proud about Earlham is students often have multiple research experiences before they graduate, and that's really unique, starting from maybe their first summer to research during the semester. And so, again, before they graduate, they will come equipped with multiple rounds of research experience.
What's one thing you love about Earlham students?
I think they're very curious people as a whole. It's hard to categorize, but I've learned a lot from them, and that comes out in a number of ways. Earlham gets students from almost every state, but also hundreds of countries have been represented since I've been here at Earlham. And when I can teach a class and someone raises their hand and shares an experience about their upbringing that might be related to global health, that enriches me as a learner for that class and the next class, but also the other students get to hear the stories too. And I think stories and anecdotes are really an important mode of teaching.
Away from Earlham, what's your favorite spot to grab a bite in Richmond?
Great. I think the answer is going to be Gulzar's. The owner knows my family on a first name basis, and I think it's because we visit there quite a bit, and we like the food, and that's a great recommendation for anyone who comes to Richmond area.
What kind of food is it?
Indian food. Thank you.
Amazing. What's the hardest thing about being a professor?
I think, not enough hours in the day, perhaps, when you add up the grading and the committee work and preparing for classes, and I'm not the exception, we all work hard as faculty to get to know the students. We wish we had a little bit more time, and so that work-life balance sometimes gets compromised, but I wouldn't trade it. We have a great gig going as being faculty members at Earlham College.
What's the most interesting thing you've learned recently?
Another wonderful question. I was recently reading, because I'm preparing for my parasitology class, about a parasite known as toxoplasma. It's actually related to malaria, but there's wolves in Yellowstone who are infected with this parasite, and those that are infected have a 46 times chance of being a pack leader because of the infection and the brain-altering effect that toxoplasma has on these wolves.
What's a book that you think everyone should read?
Yeah, I could go with the classic here, but I'm going to go with The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks because of the topic area from an ethical standpoint, from a biomedical standpoint, and that I had the privilege of meeting some of the Lacks family when they came to Earlham many years ago and were able to speak as part of a convocation to Earlham again, bringing the book, the nonfiction, to life with those personal encounters at Earlham.
Amazing. We've changed scenery a little bit from the beginning. Can you tell me anything interesting about this building or different labs here?
Yeah, we're in Stanley Hall. This is where the biologists hang out on the first floor. The chemistry department is above, and we serve biochemistry and the exercise, sports, and health studies major. We're just passing through this wall where our human cadaver lab is, and that's something that's really distinctive about preparing our pre-health students and biology students and biochemistry students and neuroscience students to actually get hands-on experience on a human cadaver. And that's part of a neat program we have with the Indiana University School of Medicine.
If you could take someone else's class at Earlham, what would you take?
There's so many great choices here because I respect all of our colleagues in different areas. But recently, as part of a kind of our mock interview process with our students applying to medical school, we asked them kind of what was a class that they really thought informed them. And boy, about 80% of them said Vince Punzo's Cradle and Grave class. And so I think based on my kind of position in the Center of Global Health, I think that would be really exciting to take Vince's class. Just don't tell him because he'll get a big head.
What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Well, you might say I'm still waiting for that to happen. No, I'm just, I think the biggest compliment kind of as a professor at Earlham is when we just passed my office, and if you look on the counter, you'd see notes I received from students. And these can be students who just graduated or students that have been away for a while. And when they check in and they send these notes and of appreciation, and they give any kind of nugget of thanks to me for any partial assistance I could have in their kind of future, that's their biggest reward.
What's one thing you'd like to see change in higher education?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. I think, since I just had 2 daughters go through the college admissions process, I think there's a lot of anxiety and pressure built into that part of the system. Students think they need to get into some kind of high-ranking school or a school that's elite. I think Earlham provides the highest possible education with what we offer as a liberal arts school. Our size and scale, the emphasis on teaching, I think, is still an endangered species in the realm of higher education, so that centeredness and core on mission on teaching excellence is something that I wish more schools would even impart on.
What do you think is the most rewarding part of your job?
I think it's that watching the journey of undergraduate students. Again, We get to know our students well from being the professors in the classroom, being their advisors, seeing them in the laboratory, being research mentors to them. And so when it's time to write a letter of recommendation, we can be very thorough on that. And then seeing that outcome, where students end up, when they come back and say, Peter, I found my dream job, I have a great work-life balance, I'm happy, that's the ultimate compliment.
Do you think Earlham is a diverse campus?
Yeah, I do completely. And I'll use my Center of Global Health hat as well. When students apply to medical school and other health profession schools, they often have to talk about their experience with diversity and inclusivity. And sometimes students forget how diverse our campus is, from the international population to differences of religion, from socioeconomic differences. And so by just living into the community of Earlham, they will receive that diversity that will make them better people in the long run.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Yeah, it was on our Earlham program probably. I've received lots of advice, but a special bit of advice is when we had the opportunity to meet the Dalai Lama at his palace in northern India as part of the Tibetan Studies program. And one of his mantras is promotion of compassion and happiness. And also, why worry about problems that are fixable? So I think that sense of optimism is something that we can really kind of take forth and again, is kind of emblematic of the principles and practices of Earlham College as well.
To prospective students watching this, or students who already know they're going to come to Earlham, what advice would you give them?
Well, I think rewatch the first few questions again and again, because we've covered a lot of great territory. But I think look at Earlham, compare it to other schools. I think you'll find that Earlham's distinctive in a number of different ways. I wouldn't have a sticker shock to the financial costs. Look at the breakdown of what is possible with financial aid and come visit. I guarantee if you're interested in biology or pre-health or other areas, you have a chance to even sit down and talk to a faculty member. If you want to learn more about pre-health and pre-medicine or biomedical research opportunities, come to Earlham and say, I want to talk with Peter, and Earlham will make that happen.
I think that's a great reason why people should apply to Earlham, but are there any others that you can think of?
Yeah, I think the people and community, if you want to come to a place where everyone's kind of in it together, learning together, there's nothing cutthroat about an Earlham education. And if you want to have multiple co-curricular experiences that go along with the teaching excellence, Earlham's a place. So you can be in the jazz ensemble, you could be a varsity athlete, you can do research with me or my colleagues in the summer. And so that totality of experiences is something that I really don't think is possible at many other schools the size of Earlham, our peer institutions, or even larger schools. So that's my statement for today.
Thanks so much, Peter. Is there anything else you want to add about why Earlham's special?
Yes. I think students who come here especially, here's advice, I'll give advice. A first-year student should come, get to know their faculty members, talk to the career coaches, and see what Earlham has to offer in its entirety. And I think you'll be pleasantly either surprised or perhaps well prepared if you've done your homework about all the many things you can do. I encourage you to apply for research. I encourage you to get to know your faculty well. I encourage you to consider an off-campus program. I think all these possibilities can really be transformative to you currently and will certainly shape your career and future self and take advantage of the life you have on the planet.
Awesome. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you so much.